Welcome and pranam to all of you who have taken the time out today to attend this second satsang of 2026. It's the 12th of May 2026. So, the topic that has been given by the sage is the illuminating nature of consciousness. So let's first of all look at one thing. I presume that all of you are absolutely clear now in your spiritual practice and by the knowledge that all of you have gained so far, that you see what we call as the ever-present, ultimate, spaceless, timeless, changeless reality that is consciousness.
Alexa चलाते हैं ਅਸੀਂ
Okay, Binduji is there. No. All right. So what I was stating was that all of you are very familiar by now that this simple consciousness that is actually present, by means of which you see we are actually able to even communicate now and become conscious and aware of this satsang. This consciousness is the ever-present, spaceless, timeless, changeless reality, which we may call as the ultimate God, or in Hindu terminology, we will call it as Param Atma, right? So, when the sages or those who were illuminated investigated this further, see, if you look at yourself, how do you describe yourself? You describe yourself by your personality, right? By the way you think, by the way you feel, by the way you look. So this is basically how the personality is actually described. So similarly, so I can say that, okay, your thoughts, your feelings, your mental, your astral, your physical habits actually describe your nature. So this is at the individual level. So similarly, look at this very carefully. What is the nature of this reality that we call consciousness, right? So from here, it comes twofold, that the nature of this reality or consciousness is split into two types of criteria, or two levels, or basically there are two main characteristics that describe the nature of reality. What is that? You see, the first one is exactly which is the title of this topic, the illuminating nature of consciousness, right? Now, if you look at the sun, so what happens? From the sun, basically light is actually flowing, right? So this light actually which flows from the sun, it is actually because of that we are able to see things when there is sunrise, and when it is sunset it actually becomes dark. So if I say that consciousness is this physical sun, just as a symbology, then the light that actually flows is the illuminating nature of the sun. Similarly, you see that light which flows from consciousness, that makes us conscious of images, that is the illuminating nature of consciousness, right? But you see, the sages didn't actually stop there. You got to look at it very carefully to understand this. They said that the nature of pure consciousness is twofold. One, it is that of illuminating consciousness. But then what is this illuminating consciousness going to do if there is nothing to see? Just think about it, you see. If there is no world of images to be illuminated, then what is that illuminating nature of consciousness going to function for, or what is it to be there for? So you see they said that the other nature of consciousness is this wondrous nature. You follow? Wondrous nature is Maya, or illusion. Or to put it in very simple terminology, the wondrous nature of consciousness is basically that consciousness itself is all this world of images. The reason why it is actually called wondrous is because, it is very temporary in nature. It is just simply an appearance. It comes and it goes. Look at it. Your thoughts, your feelings, your physical activity, the events during the day, everything. There's a point of starting and there's a point of finishing. So things are actually coming and going, right? So this is the very core, or the very central characteristic of images. But what happens is that when in this wondrous nature, consciousness appears as images, for the time, look at it, for the time that it actually appears, it makes itself look as very real, right? So you see, now look at it, the illuminating nature of consciousness, the light that flows from consciousness, it illuminates these images, or it illuminates what we call the other half, the wondrous nature or these images of that consciousness itself. Right. So I think that now this gives a little bit of clarity as a whole, to this particular satsang. But now, actually, you see, as I've always actually communicated, that whatever is actually given to you, you have to actually, first of all, objectively, you absorb that. But then, subjectively means at your level, you need to practice that and make that a part of your own sadhana, because you see, what did Yoga Vasisht say? That self-abidance is not attained either by following a Satguru, or by the study of scriptures, or by satsangs, or by meditation, or by any other means. You see, self-abidance is only attained by the clarity of the student's understanding. So let us look at this understanding. What understanding is actually being given here? Look at yourself, right? When you wake up in the morning, something reminds you actually that you are actually Anil ji, or Neeru ji, or Monica ji, or Rajesh ji, or Priya ji, whatever, right? So there is this image, right? That image is actually there. Now, this image, what you're actually calling yourself, so let's take the example of Dinesh ji. So this very image of Dinesh ji is none other than the wondrous nature of consciousness, right? So, but how do you know that you are actually Dinesh ji? Because of the illuminating nature of consciousness, because this illuminating nature not only actually illuminates this physical form when Dinesh actually wakes up, but it also makes you conscious of who you are, right? So look at it very carefully. This illuminating nature of consciousness is actually the very center, the pivot around which not only it is the very center not only of your being, but it is the very center of this universe around which everything is actually revolving. So let us take it at the individual level. One very simple thing, and this is the real teaching of Vedanta. This is the real experience of those who actually become illuminated, and this is the direct teaching of Sage Ramana and also Rishi Master Byansa Duno. Look, you cannot do anything. You cannot do anything in this physical life without being conscious, right? Even now, as I speak, right, you're conscious of whatever energy is speaking. You're trying to interpret and analyze and understand whatever energy is speaking, or say you are conscious of your thoughts, you're conscious of your feelings, you're conscious of the events that go on during the day. Maybe you're conscious of your past lives, right? Maybe you're conscious of what meals you're going to have today. Maybe you're conscious of what work you will be doing when you go to work. But look at that word. being conscious comes again and again and again. So the wondrous nature is, what is the wondrous nature? The thoughts, the feelings, the physical form, the activities, the events which are constantly changing. That is the wondrous nature of consciousness. But without being conscious, without actually, these thoughts, these feelings, these activities, these events, this physical form, this personality, without it being illuminated by this illuminating nature of consciousness, or by that light of consciousness, or that which not only illuminates the world of images but also makes us conscious of these images, it's like nothing is actually possible, right? So what happens is that in your spiritual journey you shift to just looking at, and your outlook becomes that of being conscious rather than the outlook being that of the images. You see, the problem is that you flow so quickly, you know from your own physical form, from your own aura of the physical body, the body of feelings, the body of thoughts, the body of intuition, and the body of spirit. You flow so quickly from there into the objects that you get lost in the maze and in the world of objects, and subjectively you're never actually able to look at the presence of consciousness, the flow of consciousness, the illuminating nature of consciousness. And that is why we keep on actually searching for the reality, for that truth, and it never dawns actually upon us, right? Okay, so this is, as I said, that this is the pivot along which not only you, this is not only the center of your own being, but this is the very pivot around which the whole of universe actually revolves. So let us take it at a universal level. Tell me one thing, that the greatest of the gods in any religion and mankind knows is the Trinity, right? The creator, the preserver, and the destroyer, which is Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. So tell me one thing, you know, these are not far away gods. It's that same energy distributed into three higher beings. So wherever something is actually being created, like even the start of the satsang, the start of a thought, the start of a feeling, the start of any event, right? Or you waking up. So whenever something is being created, this Brahma or creator has to be there. But can look at it very carefully. Brahma is actually an image. Can that image create anything unless it is conscious of what is to be created, right? And that being conscious is again the illuminating nature of consciousness, right? What is the next thing? Creation, preservation. So that is Vishnu or the preserver. Now anything, whether it is this spiritual discussion, or you are eating food, or you're driving from your house to your place of work, so these are events, these are activities, right? So these are everything that is now created, now has to be preserved or sustained for some time. Now tell me again, is it possible for uh, Vishnu, the sustainer, you know or this God, which is that sustainer, to sustain anything without being conscious of what is actually to be sustained, right? Again, it is because of that light of consciousness. And then we come to the third part. You see, there's creation, preservation, and then dissolution. Dissolution means every thought comes to an end, every feeling comes to an end, every event actually comes to an end. This is basically how images are actually functioning. Now, this destroyer or Shiva, who we call, is basically at the end of everything. The Shiva or the destroyer is responsible for the destruction of whatever event, whatever image is being actually sustained, then a new image is actually created. But can Shiva, look at it very carefully, it is very logical, it gives you clarity, can Shiva or the destroyer destroy anything without actually being illuminated, without actually knowing, without that the illuminating nature of consciousness, or without being conscious of what is it that actually is to be destroyed? right? So this is a very deep and a very beautiful statement, that the illuminating nature of consciousness, that actually which makes us conscious of the world of images, is not only the very center along which your being revolves, but it's also the very center around which this universe of the world of images is actually revolving. So I think that should give you a very good insight into what our satsang is today. Before I keep on talking, which I like, I'll ask Neeruji, can you please, take over? Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Anilji. Yeah, it is such a beautiful and I must say comprehensive introduction. So I'm just thinking what remains to be discussed. But anyway, let's see what we can do. So I share my screen.
I think your sound needs to be a little bit more louder, Neeruji.
Yeah. Let's first make sure that all can see the screen now.
Yes, we can.
Okay. And the sound is okay too?
Your sound is okay. Maybe a bit more,
All right.
but it's good now.
Okay. So thank you, Anilji, for the introduction. As I said, it is so beautiful and comprehensively given. Um, I thank the Grace for the opportunity to meet today. My gratitude to the devotees for making time to participate. Um, Today, our purpose is not concepts, intellectual explanations or discussions. Rather, it is to do direct observation, as Anilji also has repeatedly guided us in the introduction that he just gave to us, that it is actually the direct experience. It is our own observation of how the reality is working, how in reality all of us are. So my request to devotees will be to let us not rush into any ideas like, concepts like, what that means, things like that. Let us simply notice something very immediate, that right now we are aware. I'm aware that I'm talking. You are aware that there is words. So we're talking about it, or in other words, you are conscious of these words. We may use awareness and consciousness interchangeably also. So you are aware of your coming to this meeting. You are aware of any sounds that you are listening to. For example, sound of some vehicle on the street next to your house or office. You are aware of any thoughts, like, you may have anything in mind, like, some question or query. You are maybe also aware of any sensations. For example, bodily, you are comfortable or not feeling comfortable, okay, that sort of thing. So the simple fact is that you are aware, okay. But looking at it carefully, it's, we are aware. It's just so obvious. It just seems to be so simple that, so what is there to be noticed? So there is no effort involved, basically, to know that we are aware. So that is the reason that we usually overlook it also. So today we are not going to learn something new. We are simply going to notice this, that something has been always present with us, but it just goes unnoticed. So we're going to look at it a bit more carefully. So what I would like to you to do is to think, so when we experience something, let's say, or when we know something, okay, we come to know something. So what is involved in that? Like, so what is it that we call an experience? Like I experienced joy, okay? Or I had experience of, some sensation, for example, like bodily comfort, things like that. So what this experience actually involves? Experience involves appearance of something, if we look at it this way. So everything you experience or appears to you. There must be something that knows that a thought appeared. For example, you say, I know I have this thought at the moment, or that thought. So what is it that knows the thought, the appearance of that thought? Um, Thought is actually mind, isn't it? There is no difference between thought and mind. So we cannot say that mind knows that thought appeared, because mind is actually basically thoughts. So what knows? So does brain know? Well, brain is there in dead body as well. So brain cannot know. Then what knows that thought? What knows that some feeling appeared or some sensation appeared? For anything to appear, something must be there to know it. To know the appearance, disappearance, something needs to be present. So, like, there is a background present uh, in which all these movements, thoughts, feelings, sensations, experiences, they are appearing and disappearing. So it's like there is like a like a field, or you can say like a background is present, and these appearances, all these movements, they are happening on the surface of it, just like that. Okay, so that background, that field, maybe that knows what is happening, what movement is occurring, what is coming, what is going. I would like to be a bit slow because normally, I'm really all the times in a rush. So, but today I would like to be slow because we want to get the opportunity to directly, directly experience it, to look at it. So we need time, okay, more than the time that we need to listen to it, but because we want to look at ourselves while we are talking, while we are listening. Let's get the moment to also look at ourselves while that's happening.
ಮತ್ತೆ ಕಟ್ ಮಂತ್ ಸ್ಟೇಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರಿ
So
Meet,
I
please mute yourself. We are in the middle of a talk.
ಕಟ್ ಮಂತ್ಲೆ ಸ್ಟೇಷನ್ ಮಂತ್ಲೆ
Sharma, can you mute? Please mute them.
thank you. So
Right.
I was talking about that there is a field present, or you may call it a background is present, and on that background, all these movements that we call thoughts, feelings, sensations, appearances, disappearances, all of those are occurring. So that background, maybe you can look at it in the sense that that background is that knowing presence that knows, or that's what we call consciousness. So consciousness, it knows all these movements, it illuminates all that. Is because knowledge is illumination, right? When we say it illuminates, means that thing come into noticing. Like, I notice I have a thought, let's say, so I am illuminated. My let's say mind gets illuminated, or my person, at the level of the person, I get that illumination, I get that knowledge that I have a thought. So but the source, so from where that illumination is happening, that's because there is that background present. We can say that the field of consciousness is present. It's because of that consciousness that we know what we know, or in fact all we experience is due to the presence of that consciousness. Rather, going to a next level, we can say rather all that is here, I mean all these appearances, disappearance, whatever appears disappears also. So all that is here is none other than this consciousness. It's a consciousness itself. Anilji also explained in the introduction that the wondrous nature of consciousness, so that is appearances, but the illumination, the knowledge of those, that is coming from the illuminating nature of that consciousness. So it is illuminating what it is, what it produces. It is illuminating to know what that is. Okay, so which means that the movement that occurs on the background, in its essence, that cannot be separate or different from that background as well. There is one little story that comes to my mind at this moment, and I would like to share that here as well. So it happened that, once upon a time, a man took his little boy to movies. The boy was going to watch a movie for the first time in his life. So he didn't have any idea of what a movie is like. So he asked his father, "What is a movie like?" The father replied, "There is a screen on which the movie comes." They got slightly late in reaching the theater, and when they entered the hall, the movie had already started. The boy could see the images of people in the story, but he could not find any screen, because the father had told him, there is a screen on which the movie comes. So, for him, the concept of the movie was like, a screen, but he couldn't find any. So he asked his father, "Where is the screen?" The father said, "It is behind those images." The boy tried to look behind the images, but as he didn't have any concept of what a screen is, he could not find anything apart from the images. So then it was time for interval. The movie stopped and the lights in the hall were all turned on. Then the boy saw a huge blank screen on the wall. And then he could understand what actually happened. So, as long as there were images appearing and disappearing, the attention remained on them, and he could not see the screen. But the screen was always present. And without the screen, he couldn't have seen any image in the movie. So, after the interval, the movie started playing on the screen again. And then the boy had no difficulty in seeing the screen. So, the idea that we can gain from this movie, the example, the story is that if we compare consciousness to a movie screen, which contains all those images, so similarly, consciousness is like a screen, right? So it contains all manifested objects. There can be gross objects like a house, there can be subtle objects like a thought. So as long as our attention remains on the objects, we remain unaware of the light that makes us aware of those objects. But once we pay attention to the background, that illuminating source, then only that source or the background remains in the view. So, but once we know it, that there is a background, then we are not going to miss it. Okay, it's only till the point that we are looking at images only and it doesn't catch our attention or it's not revealed to us maybe. So it's only till that point of time there is a challenge that where this illumination is coming from. So all these objects that we perceive or experience, they have existence only because consciousness is present in the background, right? Just like a screen. So without screen, there will be no objects. Just like that, without consciousness, there will be no experiences, no appearances, no movements, whatever we can call. So in this way, if we look carefully, consciousness is not something distant from us. It's not something mystical. It is the most intimate fact of your experience. So illuminates everything, right? Just like Anilji said that the light of the sun, so it makes objects visible. Just like that, it is the illuminating power of that consciousness which is present here all the time. It makes all these experiences possible for us. Because without it, no thought could be known, no feeling could be felt, and no world could basically appear to us. And this is the beauty of it, that consciousness is self-luminous. It does not need another light to be known. It is itself all light. It is self-revealing. You do not need to go somewhere to see consciousness, to find consciousness, because you yourself are it. I know I have heard seekers, seen seekers making, really very serious effort of where is consciousness, where is it? So it's not like, obvious, but actually we need to pay attention to it. That's what the practice is. So we basically, fundamentally, we are it. So if you look carefully, what you are, when thought, feeling, sensation are absent, because, like the boy in the movie was all the time could see only the images and could not see screen. That's why when these images are absent, let's say, okay, so we have to come to a state, that moment has to come. We need to come to that, that they are absent. So thought is absent, feeling is absent, sensation, let's say, maybe for some time it's not in our control, 100% not in our, but let's say they are also absent. And you can say that you are in that zero state when nothing is present. So in that state, you are pure consciousness in that moment, okay? Because that's not veiled by any movement. So consciousness is there all the time, but the problem is that it gets veiled by some movement, either thought, feeling, sensation, okay? But something is in our control, others beyond our control. But I'm talking about things that are in our control. So when they are not, when consciousness is not veiled by or dimmed by them, so then it is possible for us to have the direct experience of it, okay? Because once a thought appears, okay, the attention gets caught in that, and that pure consciousness which you are, it gets covered by that, or you can say it gets dimmed by the appearance of the thought. So that's why the problem remains. Okay, so we move to the next one. So here I would request you to be a bit slow. As I said that, slower, because this is the moment we can do some direct observation of reality in us, okay? So what we will do, we'll be noticing, we'll be examining us, what is happening in us in this moment, okay? We try to free us. So let's see how we can do it, okay? So as I said that if we do the direct observation, you will see that it is not difficult to realize that fundamentally you are that pure consciousness which is illuminating everything that we are experiencing, right? So what we need to do is to look at it directly. So what I mean by that is that looking at us, what's happening within us. Okay, so it's just for a moment, what we can do is to gently close your eyes if you can, but actually that is not compulsory also. So if you do not want to close your eyes, it's okay, it's just optional. You can keep your eyes open, that's fine, all right? So remember what we just said. We examine means we're looking at us very deeply, looking at us, thoroughly examining us at this moment, noticing what's happening. So look at yourself. Is there a thought arising in you at this moment? Okay, so is there any thought? So I'll keep talking, but I'll try to be slow, so giving moment for you to look at yourself, what you are going through. So if there is a thought arising in you, it comes, you're looking at it, right? It stays for a moment, okay? And you're looking at it, and then it goes. So it's like this. Sometimes it may also happen that you try to look at the thought, okay, and it disappears, okay? Actually, what happens, the thoughts disappear. I mean, it can happen that it doesn't come again, right? It happens often when the seeker has made some advancement in the quest also. So then they experience this often, every time when they try to detect the thought, they will find that it doesn't come, so you want to trace it, but it vanishes. So that's what we want to attain, because that's the pure state, which is without a trace of thought. But in our practical life, the pure state and the person state, they need to coexist, because we can't be away from our life, right? Practical, I mean, activities and everything. So the thoughtlessness is, it's not expected actually in our practical life. When we engage in activities like, doing some work, for example, let's say driving your car, we cannot be expected to be thoughtless in that moment. So let's come back to observing. So we were observing ourselves, okay? So we are observing. Let's notice if there is any sensation in the body. You may notice how you are sitting comfortably. Let's say you are sitting comfortably in the chair, or you're sitting on the floor. You may feel like changing the posture to come to maybe a more comfortable position. So is any sensation like that noticed? Uh, so when you are looking at the sensation, it is known. You notice it, you come to know, you perceive it. Okay, so sensation comes and it goes. It is temporary, right? So the state changes, right? Maybe there is another type of sensation that arises, but it also go. So now, so there is somebody there, something is there that is noticing in you, that is aware of the coming and going. Like, you were trying to detect thought. Let's say the thought disappeared. Maybe another thought came and also disappeared. Sensation came, disappeared. Another came, disappeared. So something in you is there that is aware of the coming of the thought, the coming of the sensation, and the going of these things, isn't it? Try to look at yourself once again, maybe. So it's something that you are experiencing, anything you're noticing. So there is something in you that is noticing that. Okay. And let's say there is nothing that is coming, nothing, no sensation, no thought, no feeling. Okay. It's totally empty. So then, how is that state like? So do you experience like how you perceive that state? What is it? What is happening in that? Okay. So something is there that is present all the time. It is constantly there. Okay. Like thought came, thought went. Sensation was experienced, disappeared. Okay. Maybe some feeling also came and went. But something was there to observe that. Okay. Something was conscious of that. Does it come and go like the thought? So does it come and go like the sensation? Okay. Yeah. Look at it in that way. Or that which was watching all this, was aware of all this, is it simply present throughout? Like we were talking about the screen. So screen is present throughout. So it's something in you that is present throughout. Thought was coming, feeling was coming, going, but there was something, because of that you were conscious of what is happening, but that something was present. That did not vanish, did not change, did not reduce, did not increase, but it was like a same, like constant, present. Yeah. So if you can stick to that, if you are able to remain as that, okay, without the thought, without feeling, let's say no sensation, that constant thing, the base. So if you can remain as that, just there to notice, okay, something will be coming, like, something is here to notice without waiting. I mean, I'm not saying wait, thought is coming, it will come now, what is next, it's not, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that just quietly, we are there, okay? And thought comes, goes, something comes, they just come and go, but we remain present as that layer, you can say, something, or that presence, okay? So that's, what is the illuminating presence. That's what consciousness is. Okay, moving the slide. Maybe we can come back to that direct observation after we just cover a bit. So what is it that was always present throughout that watching? Something was present, okay? We can reflect together. So what was happening? So thoughts come and go, feelings come and go, body states change, experiences arise and pass. So everything appears, disappears, changes, right? But that which knows all that coming, going, all those changes, what is there that knows all these, does that change? So that's our basic sense of being aware. So has that basic sense of being aware even disappeared, ever disappeared? During all this movement, has disappeared or changed, means reduced times, in that sense, was there any change that you felt that it happened, that more aware or less aware? It was just there, unchanging. That's why we say unchanging. Okay, so this is something you can verify directly just by observing you. It's not something I'm asking you that this is what you believe. No, it is something you can test yourself. It's just a simple observation. You may try another method. Okay, another method also to realize this consciousness that you yourself are. So just, let's say, for a couple of seconds, remain empty. Okay, so like, you can be listening to these words, but still still remain empty of thoughts. Let's say no thought. Just try to stop. Okay, no thoughts, no feeling. Let's say for 1 second we try to come to that where nothing happens, just blank state. So nothing for one second, empty, nothing for one more second. So now think, what was there when nothing was happening, when no thought was experienced, no feeling was experienced? Was something still there? So could you hold that state for another second, maybe couple of seconds, if possible? So now think what you were in that thoughtless moment. Were you in that state? What you experienced, that were you limited to just yourself? Like, when we are talking like normal course of life, uh, we keep limited to ourselves, like, our body, personality, mind. I am Neeru, like, that's what I mean by limited. Like, there is a difference in terms of space. Like, computer is it's a different space. My personality, it's, there is a difference. If you look at, there is a space between them. So that's what it's a, that space limitedness, that's what I'm talking about. But when we come to that thoughtless moment, that state, if we can remain in that for a couple of seconds, maybe a minute, what you will, maybe you experienced that it's a limitless state in that moment. Or you can try this experiment when you have a quiet moment. So what do you experience when you stop thinking? Do you experience there is that limitless space in which your body, so your body is present? It's like, there is that expansiveness, like the vast. So in a sense that you have expanded everywhere, and there is an experience of everything is within me. So when that experience comes, that state will come when thoughts remain absent for some time, feelings remain absent for some time. So then that sense of expansion that is realized, and this comes like, that everything is within me. That will also, that happens. That's called realization. That's a, because consciousness is vast. It is one thing. Everything is within that. So if you felt that way, if you experienced that, if you would like to share at this moment also, if you would like to share your experience, yeah, you're welcome to share that right now if you like. So let us know. We can pause for a moment. Like, I mean, we can, anyone who likes to share, if you experience something, it will be good to know if something enlightening happened, some realization happened, like, empty. If you felt like that, anybody? Okay, so maybe we are just thinking. That's okay. We can do this towards the end of the talk also. So we move on from here. So in this context, one story, another story comes to my mind, which is a beautiful story, because that was told by sage to a group of devotees. So what happened? Once there lived 10 fools, like people call them fools. That's why. So who were close friends as well. So one day they set forth on a journey and they reached a river. So there was a bridge they had to cross to go to the other side, maybe to go to the city. So upon crossing the bridge, each wanted to ensure that all had safely reached the other shore. Okay, so one of the 10 men began to count, because they want to count that we are all 10. But when he was counting, he left himself out. So he just counted others. And when he finished counting, he said, I see only 9, which means we have lost one friend. So who can it be? Which one is lost? So another one asked, did you count correctly? So he doubted that the counting was not done correct. So he decided to do another head count. He also counted 9. So one after the other, each of them counted, but they kept missing himself. And all of them said one thing, same conclusion. We are only 9. They all agreed in despair. But who is the missing one? See? So they made many efforts, but they failed to discover the missing person. And one of these 10 people was a sentimental fool. So he burst into tears and he said, he must have fallen into the water and drowned while crossing the river. And others also started worrying when he said that. But luckily, there was a gentleman passing by. So when he saw the 10 fools weeping on the river bank, he stopped there. He stopped to inquire why they were lamenting so loudly. All 10 told what had happened. And they said that even after counting themselves several times, they have counted, they could find only 9 people. So one fellow, definitely one is lost. The gentleman actually could see all of those 10 people before him. So he began to laugh. And 10 fools were angry because he was laughing when one of their friends is drowned. The gentleman calmed them down and assured them that all were alive and no man had drowned. So he suggested them one thing. He suggested that each of them should count them in a serial order of like one after the other, 1, 2, 3, and so on. So actually what he said, that I'm going to give each of you a blow, and when I give you a blow, then you say 1. So second one will say 2, like this. So he explained the method, and he said that it is important that they recite the number so that all of them may be sure of having been counting in this process. Okay. And also that they are included only once. So the number has to be correct as well. So this way they can find the 10th missing man, because there will be somebody in the line who will say 10 after receiving the blow. So the 10 fools were very happy to hear the solution, and they rejoiced at the prospect that now they are going to find their lost friend. So as the first fool received the blow from the gentleman, he said aloud, "One." Okay, so then the kind gentleman gave a blow to the second, so he said, "Two." Okay, so likewise he hit each of them, the 10 people in turn, and when he hit the last one, he said 10. So they looked at one another to discover who had returned. Who is this 10th one? "We are 10, they said. They were very happy. So they said with one voice that we are 10, and they thanked the kind stranger for having removed their problem, solving their problem. So where did the 10th man appear from? So was he ever lost? Okay, knowing he had been there all the while. So did the group of friends learn anything new from this? See, the cause of their grief was not the actual loss of any one of them. It was their ignorance. Their mere, supposing this, that one of them was lost. They supposed this, though they could not find who he was. Repeatedly they tried and they could not find who's lost, but still it was their belief. This is what they supposed, that, because they have counted all, but actually they had counted only 9. They didn't look at, how they are counting. So nothing really was missing and nothing needed to be added to them. It was only their simple mistake. It was their misidentification, right? So in the same way, what's happening with us? We are not lacking awareness. It is with us every moment. Okay? But we are simply overlooking what that is. What we already are. We are overlooking that and we are searching for that. Okay? So what we can call, it's just like the story. So it's only a mistaken conclusion that most of us are making because of, our inability to sense that or to notice what is all the time present with us, illuminating every movement that we are undergoing, experiencing. So, one thought comes, next moment another thought comes, then another. But what we need to do is to touch the place where one thought ends and the next thought starts. Okay? Yeah. So that's called the interval between two thoughts. I know most of us, we know this, that there is interval between the two thoughts, but it is actually the intensity of the effort. Have we actually tried that with all of our heart? Have we actually made that sincere effort that we go to the interval between the two thoughts? Because that is the place where consciousness lies in its pure state, free of any appearances, uncovered and untouched by any of experiences. So what we need to do is to try, could we reach that space between the thoughts? Could we increase the time of no thoughts? Can we stay there for, maybe for 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 1 minute? Because this constant stream of thoughts, okay, is posing a challenge in sticking to the real place. But at least we can understand from this experiment that consciousness, which is our real element, is not missing. It does not leave us any moment. It is we who turn away from it. That is, it is the mind that has turned away from the source. Okay? All right. So moving forward. Because, most seekers, they are worried about realizing. So when that moment of realization is going to come, what is that realization? Okay, what is that? So realization is what we are in true sense, which we already are, right? Okay, so what we are. So it is basically the removal of the misidentification with the objects that keep appearing, disappearing. And these objects are not just those subtle objects like thought, feelings, but these are also the gross, let's say, the body is also an object. So when some seeker is realized, the body is also an object for them. Like, they watch a movie, they watch their body. Of course, everyone can watch their body, but I'm talking about the personality. So like watching your person, okay, your personality, the entire setup, watching some mind state, some sensation or something else. So we often feel that I need to become more aware. I need to reach some higher state. But, we said more aware. I need to be more conscious of something. Yeah. But awareness is not something you are going to add to, because it's not something you create. It's not something you can be improving also, okay? Because it is already in its fullest, you can say, sense to full. It is already present, fully present, okay? Because right now, when we are talking, everyone is participating right now. Are you making this awareness happen? No, we can't, because it is already fully present, which is enabling us, illuminating us, okay, to see what's there on the screen or to listen to what's there being said. The only confusion is this, that we identify with what appears, okay, instead of recognizing what is that which is aware of this. So paying attention to that as often as possible, okay? So paying attention will make us, this thing possible, that this happens quickly, okay? So next. So today what we do is, we are going to unpack it a little bit further. A lot of times seekers, they say, I have shifted to witnessing. In a sense, that seeker stop misidentifying with their personal self, and they say that now I don't misidentify with my personality, my personal self or personhood, and I am the witness of all that is happening with me, my body, my mind, with the world, you know. So what that implies, what it means to be the witness of appearances that are happening in front of us or in us, within us, okay, what it means to be witnessing them. So what that means is that, it's like we're just trying to clarify ourselves. So would the seeker do the witnessing, this when the seeker say, okay, I am watching this, I have shifted to watching, witnessing. So would that imply that the seeker is doing the witnessing? Doing means like work is done. So because I've heard some people saying this, I do witnessing, okay, like a practice they do. So that's why it needs a bit of clarification, that witnessing is not something you do, like, you do the work, you listen, it's a work, you have to listen, you have to pay attention to it, so it's a work that you do, okay? You drive, it's a work, okay? Yeah, you talk. But witnessing is not something like a work you do. I do witnessing, I witness this, I witness that, I witness that, I witness my thought. That's a work, okay? No, witnessing is not like this work, okay, in this sense. So if you are making effort to witness, like, I witness this, I witness that, there is still a sense of I am doing it. There is a doer, okay? There is a doer present. But notice, right? So even that effort, I am doing witnessing, there is something in you that knows that you are doing witnessing, because that is perceived as well. There is something present before that work, that doing witnessing, before that something is present which is making you aware that you are doing witnessing. I am just using second person because it helps me to explain it better. Because if someone says I am doing witnessing, okay, so something is present in them which is making them aware that they are doing witnessing, right? Okay, so it's like it's like they are making effort to do that. So there is identification with that ego personality, with the doer who is doing the witnessing. Because witnessing, you have to take the position of somebody who witnesses, means it will be a doer. They have to identify with that doer to do the witnessing. They cannot remain absent from that position, okay? So like, they want to do the witnessing also, and they don't identify with that witnesser. That is not possible. They have to 100% engage with that witnesser to enable them to do the witnessing. Otherwise, witnessing in that sense cannot happen. Okay, so in other words, there is somebody who is doing witnessing. Okay, so if they are identifying with that witnesser, then they are not identifying with the awareness. Okay, because it's just, it's changing the platform. If someone is on the platform of awareness, they will not do witnessing, because witnessing is something to be done, right, in that sense. Okay, so witnessing doing is something not correct, right? But when witnessing naturally happens, that is the correct way of doing witnessing. I mean, witnessing is not done, but the correct way witnessing happens is when you are pure awareness in that state, when there is nothing doing, because in the pure state, it's just totally empty. There is no activity in that. It's just a vast space of emptiness, and all the activities are they are happening within that space, but they are done by personality, person. If you are on the platform of pure awareness, you are not a doer, so you cannot be the witnesser also. Okay, so the correct way of witnessing is natural witnessing, when the pure awareness itself naturally, automatically, without any doing, when it does the witnessing, that is witnessing in truth. Otherwise, it is again identifying with the somebody who is doing witnessing, and that is not correct, because a seeker would like to not misidentify. You have to be aware. If you want to be pure awareness all the time, you have to be stop identifying with somebody that does, including witnessing. When you say, I'm not the doer, that's why, so it's awareness talking, it's awareness, but I'm not actually talking, because I actually identify with that awareness, not identify with the one who is speaking. Okay, so similarly, not identify with the one who is witnessing, because awareness, let awareness do the witnessing. It is already witnessing. You don't have to ask awareness do the witnessing, because it is a natural witness, which is. And also, another thing is that sage, I have read in, I think in Be As You Are, that actually is witnessing even the reality, the truth of awareness. Because sage himself has explained that, it's our concept. We say somebody watching, awareness is watching, consciousness is watching. It is actually not the reality of consciousness. So it's our own concept that we have made, there is witnessing happening. Because we don't know 100% of what awareness, nature of awareness is. Okay, but let's say in a superficial sense, we can think that yes, awareness is witnessing, but this witnessing needs to be happening naturally, automatically. Okay, so when somebody comes to the realization, when somebody comes to that, that pure awareness state, there will be no need left to witness, because witnessing naturally will be happening. It will be revealed. There is no need felt actually to do the witnessing. So when we say, I do witnessing, I do witness, this is the work. That is still the idea was that still the identification remains with the doer, with the person. This needs to be also removed in order to come in truth, in order to come to the place of pure awareness. So I think after this, probably we move to the next one. Okay, so when the state of pure awareness, that illuminating awareness, when that state comes, then everything is consciousness. Everything is happening within that space of consciousness. Okay, and there will be, the state will be that, because consciousness is only one, it is unity, it's just only one space, right? So if you identify with that consciousness, you are that consciousness, then anything gross, subtle that you encounter will also be that same consciousness. It's not that consciousness is divided into pieces. So a sound is heard, that's a one piece of consciousness, and if somebody you see on the road, that's another piece of consciousness. It's not like that, because there is only one field of consciousness. Okay, so when that realization happens, then everything that is happened, it is not separate from you, because you are that same consciousness. Somebody else also same consciousness. Bird is consciousness, the sound is consciousness, flower is, it is, everything is just one field. Okay, because the consciousness which is present within you is also present within them. So one seamless field, right? And the sense of separation that dissolves, and what remains, then it is, that state comes that everything is within me, or everything is me. So it is that state when everything is just one. Okay. Yeah, so coming back to, how practically we manage this in our day-to-day life, how we manage this sort of a, identifying with that state, established in that state, and still have to attend to all the, the daily work, the job, the kids, and everything. So what it really means in daily life, because in daily life there is, we have to encounter others, let's say colleague, maybe some of those encounters or interactions may be not so pleasant also. So what will happen, let's say, if something unpleasant, like, the reaction. So normally there is a reaction. The reaction comes when we identify with the personality, with the person, right? Yeah. But, then, so when we identify with that, we believe this anger is me, because we identify with that anger, we identify with that stress, we identify with that unease. Okay. But when we come to the platform of consciousness, when it is all one field, there is harmony, there is, we remain as that consciousness, then we cannot be the anger, because we see that consciousness sees the anger. Okay, so when that, as that consciousness, it automatically, in the sense, I'm not saying you see it, it is automatically perceived. So when, it sees that there is anger coming. So when you see, you catch it,
Master,
like it's catching, so when you catch that,
Master,
so when you catch that anger, the anger loses grip, its root, it weakens, right? Similarly, when you look at fear, okay, again, same thing, it will lose grip. That's why the impact lessons, no? So everything will be happening in the life situations, there will be everything, all those things will happen, but the impact will lessen with stress. Similarly, any challenge, so the response that comes, that will be more natural, more compassionate, more intelligent. So much better life, even practically, if we come to the platform of consciousness and be one with that. So I'm kind of coming to the end of the talk. So what we look at, is that maybe again, what we can do is to take a moment again, and just to try to settle, to what we are in ourselves. So there is nothing to do, there is nowhere to go. We just be here, sitting like we are, just being here, but just trying to be a bit slow maybe, and uh, think that there is nothing that needs to be added. Consciousness is already there. Nothing needs to be removed also, because life will go naturally, the activities, the encounters, interactions, and everything. So we come to the position of consciousness and we happen to notice them. So what we do, gently, once again, bring your attention gently to yourself, to the present moment. In that, there is no need to effort anything, but it's just simply paying attention to where that consciousness is and what is happening. Okay, so consciousness, awareness is present. It's there. It's not doing anything, right? It is the personality that does all the things. Consciousness is simply present. So you ask yourself gently within, looking at the awareness present in you. Does this awareness come and go? You have thoughts coming and going, you have sensations coming and going, but awareness, it remains there all the time. And there is nothing for us to create, nothing to hold on to as well. So just remain as this aware presence, which is illuminating all those interactions that we have with others. So that silent presence, which has been there the whole time, it's not coming, it's not going anywhere. It is simply here. And it's always here. And that's what you are. So with that, we rest maybe in silence for a moment. And I thank you all for being so patient with the listening all that I said. And yeah, thank you, Anilji, for giving the opportunity. Thank you to the grace, all the sages that have been blessing us with sharing all these, wonderful thoughts and practices. And so I thank you once again. And with this, I stop here. And if you like to share something, ask any question, you are welcome to ask. Thank you once again.
Okay. Thank you, Neeruji. Very, very beautifully presented.
Thank you.
So, yeah, we will come to the question answers. Vijayji, can you please summarize? Maybe we do a short summary and then we can go on to just open up the floor for everyone to talk.
Okay. Wait. Okay. Thank you everyone for listening patiently to a very elaborate, comprehensive, and a beautiful presentation of consciousness, light as an illumination, as consciousness, which Anilji also described very well as Neeruji. Now this topic was discussed in the light of practicality aspect, not from a theory perspective, and how we actually practically try and practice that to go from effort to effortlessness. Now that effort to effortlessness is a what we think as is a process, because we are experiencing everything as the mind, as the individual. So as the individual who is striving to be to traverse from thoughts to thoughtlessness, it's called a process. But ultimately there is no process as such, because we already are that. Now light or consciousness, the absolute consciousness as we term it, is that which is ever present, and nothing can be added or nothing can be taken away from it. That is ever present and eternal. Then where does this fit in, where and this manifestation is seen by one who is considering oneself as the individual? Because that can only happen when there is that same very consciousness, the light of that consciousness is reflected. Otherwise, in as oneness, as pure consciousness, there is no other. So the only way that what we as individuals see this world as is when there is a reflected consciousness. And what we are experiencing as consciousness is the reflected consciousness of that pure consciousness. And that reflected consciousness is because there is and mind that is there, that is experiencing, acting like a crystal, and the spectrum that's coming out. So the original light of consciousness coming through, and then it dissipates through that spectrum, through as a spectrum, in the various colors that comes out. And we see that as a reflecting consciousness, as this world, as manifestation, as me and then the other. But we are not that, what we think we are, because this is only the reflected consciousness. We are that pure awareness, pure consciousness, the original consciousness. Once that is realized, how does one experience it? Because that experiencing or being that which we truly are, and there were several analogies given about the screen and the movie, and also the 10 fools who did not actually see themselves because they were counting everything else but not actually finding out for themselves. So there's one more example which can be given, which is a very classic example, and that classic example is of the snake and the rope. So in the darkness, and that darkness is presumably the ignorance that one has. In that darkness of ignorance, there is a rope lying on the floor there, and due to ignorance, in the dimness of that, there's no light of consciousness shining there. And what do you see there? Not the rope. You think it is a snake mistakenly, and you're scared and you're worried and you want to try and get away from that. And then somebody comes in, and there is a light that is switched on, the light of consciousness. And as soon as that illumination happens, you see it for what it actually is, which is the rope. And then that fear goes away automatically. And that, once that is seen as a rope, even in the dark, if one says, oh, look at that, that's a snake, one knows that that is the rope. So that's also another example where we are mistakenly identifying something as what it is not. And all this arises because there is that individual uh, thinking that I am the doer. The thoughts that are there in consciousness, which arise due to the reflected part of that consciousness, that pure consciousness, because that is there, the thoughts that are there in consciousness, but because there is identification with those thoughts, we have all this ups and downs in life where we feel that we are this body, mind, intellect. The moment that doership goes away and there is no doer, there is clear recognition and pure absolute clarity of that which one always is, which is pure consciousness. At the moment, one is identifying with that reflected consciousness. And what was explained as being gaps between thoughts and the witnessing, that witnessing, when it happens as witnessing, as without any process, without any effort, when that becomes effortless, the witnesser, the witnessed, the object of witnessing, and the process of witnessing all collapse, because all that remains is only pure absolute consciousness that always is, always will remain, because that's eternal. So there's nothing needs to be done, nothing needs to be added or removed, and you have to just remain as that ever existing pure consciousness. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnaat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Vijayji. That's very beautiful. When you were talking, some feelings were or thoughts were coming. That looking at this topic, actually, let's take a practical example. Say your life has become such that you are suddenly surrounded by problems everywhere, right? But when you look at it actually practically, you see, when you will not be there, one day you are not going to be there, and neither are the people who have actually brought about, or that environment that brought about all those problems, that is also not going to be there, right? All these things exist as long as you are there and you are dealing actually with these things. But in the end, when you are not there, the one creating the problems is actually not there. Where is the problem, right? So when you really look at it, that which illuminated this part, that you are surrounded by problems, and that which is also actually illuminating that when you are not there, the problems are not going to be there, that remains, right? And that's exactly what Vijayji is saying. And Neeruji said the natural state, the natural flow of that illuminating consciousness, which never actually ends. And this is the transition, that's the journey from the image to our true nature of that illuminating consciousness. Anyway, just some feelings that come, very practical. Thank you to Vijayji and in particular to Neeruji for such a beautiful satsang. So let's throw open the floor. Anybody who wants to, as we always do, would like to put in their comments or discussion, please do that. Anyone? What about you, Neha? You want to start?
Namaste,
I'll
Anilji.
Yes, Neha. Yeah.
Uh, Actually, nothing is coming to mind immediately. I was only enjoying two impressions. That
Right.
One of consciousness as an unshakable pillar and as an constant flow.
Right.
So as of now, I'm just experiencing those two different ways of. So yeah, just very, very nice from everyone. Just enjoying that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so you just remain as that only forever, that will do. Acha, Vrindaji, you want to say something?
It's something like what Neha just said, it was so beautiful, and just that sense of awareness to stay in that. And it's so obvious now that the way Niruji explained and Vijayji and the way you had also said, it's like you get more aware of how the thoughts or the feelings are arising, but even when they are not there, you are there. It's that feeling is something which is not
Yeah.
I can't really put it, but
Yeah.
you know,
Very
it's
good. Yeah. Okay. Prashanti, are you there?
Yes,
Yes. Would you like to say something?
thank you very much, Neeruji, Anilji, for such a beautiful lecture. It was I went through the practice as she was saying, and it was beautiful. And the way it was expressed, the way it was laid out was very beautiful. It just reminds me of one or two things. Number one, it talks about the balance. The man who walks the tightrope. Actually, once he has learned how to walk the tightrope, he's doing nothing. He's just standing there. But till he learns to stand there, he's going through a lot of practice. It is that
Yeah.
tension between this sankalpa and vairagya. You keep that desire, burning desire to find the truth, which takes a bit of effort. But you realize that once you have reached there, there's nothing else to do. I just wanted to clarify to myself and to all my fellow seekers to saying, very often the journey of nothingness or doing nothing feels very easy. And it is, once you get it. But till you get it, the effort has to continue. The vairagya, to know what is false and to give it up is important. If you don't do that, the chances are that you will keep going into loops. So it's fascinating also that when you look at the example of the cinema theater and the screen, if individually you were seeing pictures, you would soon get bored. But when they happen at more than 12 to 15 films per second, pictures per second, it starts becoming a movie. Then the movie, the moment there is an emotion laid out, there's a story laid out, there's music, all our senses get activated and we become involved, we become engaged in the movie and we forget the screen completely. So somewhere, if the desire, if the sankalp is not there to saying, I know that this looks beautiful, but I have far to go and I have to go beyond this to understand the truth. And if I'm not able to slow down the movie, by which I mean slow down the mind, so that we are able to see the gaps between and identify the screen, we would not reach what we are looking for. So those are just sort of stray thoughts going through my mind.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
Very good. Thank you. Anoopji, are you there?
Yes, Anilji, I am here.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want to say? You want to say something? Anoopji, I think maybe you're on mute.
Hello. Hello.
Yes. Is that
Haji.
Poonamji?
Yes, I'm Poonam.
Yes, Poonamji. Yeah, please talk.
Yes, I'm feeling that when that any activity is being done or whatever work I do, I sometimes consciously means knowingly I take the efforts. I'm not the Poonam, I'm not the body, I'm not the thought. It is something else which is there inside me,
Mm-hmm.
course as a supreme, and that is what is experiencing. That is what is making me do the work or making me perform the activity. And when that thought comes to my mind, I have experienced that no tiredness, no means I feel so fresh and light. The things are being taken up in a very spontaneous flow, like it becomes the things are happening. Just I'm just in a form of witnessing state, and the things are going on, and it gives a pleasure, happiness, and things are done in a very very loving manner, without giving any kind of I should say stress. The stress is out of question. Nothing comes to my mind. It just gives me pleasure doing it. It can be anything. I'm doing in the kitchen, I'm doing something creative work, sitting with that work and doing it. So the moment a thought comes, ki no, I'm not Poonam, I'm not the body, I'm not the thought, I'm consciousness. That gives me immense strength and pleasure and happiness and peace. That's what I've started experiencing that in my life.
Yeah. That's very nice. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to you.
Well, that's okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Just,
Anoopji. Yes, Anoopji.
Anilji, sorry, my connection was lost.
It's okay. Yeah. Please,
While I was practicing this silence between thoughts, I felt a deep shanti in the heart center for some time.
Yeah.
So and also I feel that consciousness is like a fire which burn all the thoughts and emotions.
Yeah.
That's what I felt.
Very nice. Yeah. Very good. So you've gone very
actually,
deep into your sadhana.
as, 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 Or
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Mm.
And also, I have a doubt that
Mhm.
more than an ananda, this consciousness is like feeling like a shanti is appearing. So, but there is a consciousness is also called as Satchidananda, means Satchitananda.
Mhm.
So, what is exactly the Ananda means? Yeah, because
Look,
more we
yeah,
feel a peace in the
yeah,
a
yeah,
peaceful or a shanti like state.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep, yep,
Yeah,
yep. You see, look, Satya means truth, correct? So
yeah,
this is very beautiful. Chit is actually consciousness.
yeah,
So that which actually never changes actually is the truth. That's actually consciousness. That's why it's actually sitting at the center, right? And
yeah, yeah,
Anand means a endless state of blissful or happy endurance in which there is no impact, right? So look at
yeah,
it. Chit, that consciousness and its light, that illuminating consciousness is basically Ananta means a never ending state of actually happiness because it remains actually as it is, right? What is changing and feeling happy and unhappy and reincarnating from one body to another, sometimes having good events, good environment, sometimes having bad events, bad environment is Anupji or
yeah,
Anilji or Monica
yeah,
ji or whatever it may be, right? So Sat, the truth, which is the ultimate truth, what is that truth? Consciousness, and that consciousness is the endless state of Ananta, not interrupted by the happiness of personal desires. So that's Sat Chit Ananta, right?
yeah, yeah. Thanks.
Make sense? All
Yes,
right.
yeah, that's beautiful.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chandji, are you there? Chand Chadaji, are you there? Okay. All right.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, we can hear you. Yes, yes, Chandji. Yes.
No, it was really illuminating because we realize consciousness refers to the unique ability to light up our experience, reveals thoughts, emotions, sensations. Beautiful. Neeruji gave the example of the screen example, and really speaking, this is what exactly happens. We look at the images and we have never seen the screen, and somehow the 10 fools, probably I could affiliate with one of them because we never count ourselves in the consciousness. We don't think of our consciousness, and
Yeah.
we are looking at others and thinking of others. But then once we look at the critical thinking, moral judgment, purposeful action, the confusion fades, and then the understanding emerges. I think it was beautiful. Thank you, Neeruji, and thank you, Vijayji.
Yeah, yeah. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Chandji. Okay, we have got some new people who have joined as well. I don't know whether Monica ji, she's there. I think she's traveling from Haridwar. Do you want to say anything, Monica ji? You have to just unmute yourself.
No, no, sir.
All right. You want to express anything?
No, sir, no questions for now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's always no questions for now. Anything you want to express for now?
Hmm. Can I say in Hindi?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You talk in Hindi, but we prefer English because it's watched. We record the video, and so everyone, the audience can be, English or Hindi or whatever. But up to you. Okay.
Um, I think this process is tough, but once you get all the things, that will be easy for us. मतलब enlighten के बाद everything is easy. अभी सब कुछ tough लगता है. This process is tough, I guess.
Yeah, but the thing is that Neeruji, would you like to answer that? Are you there,
Yeah,
Neeruji
yeah,
or
yeah,
Vijayji?
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. You answer.
okay. All right. Yes, I totally understand. And I have also, even though awakened Kundalini, but I have also put in a lot of effort to come to the state in that this touch with the pure state or the what I am, this does not go away. So yes, you are right that there is a lot of effort to come to the state of effortlessness. Mm, so, but this has to be there. I mean, this is not simple, but once you realize it, yes, then it is simple. Simple. But yeah, I mean, uh, it is actually, as frequently as you can pay attention to what is there, which is watching, what is there, that is aware. So but I would say it's actually not really very, it's not impossible. It's not really that difficult as well. It's actually the intensity. You can keep practicing 10 years, but not with intensity. But contrasting to that, if you have full intensity, this is very simple. This will not be, like a time-consuming process. I would say it is actually the intensity that matters. That continuous efforting that matters. So with intensity, this will be quick, bear fruit. Yeah, that's what I would say. And actually, it is, it's actually the belief, it's the confidence. If we just keep saying, it's very difficult, it feels challenging. Um, no, so that's like making things difficult for us. First, we need to believe. So, you have the trust in awareness that yes, it is. I am that. When you say, be bold to say, I am that pure awareness. I am self. Even this way will give a lot of push. Even though may not be realizing, but when you declare this, I am that self, you keep reminding yourself, I am that pure awareness, I am that self, I am that. So just thinking like this, it will be catalytic to the process. It will give intensity. So when we just keep denying, I am not there, how do I go there? It will be a long process. It's very difficult. I am, sorry, I don't know what your name is. Sorry.
Monica.
Monica, ji, yeah. So don't keep saying, I am Monica. How do I reach there? It's such a long quest. No, don't say. Just keep saying every day, just keep this, say this to yourself. I am that self. I am self. I am pure awareness. Because this way will actually kill it, that sticking to ego personality. It will be easy to diminish that, and then ultimately coming to that pure state becomes easier. That's what I did, my experiences. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Vijayji, do you want to add to that? To answer to it, that's the first query that we have got, that it's difficult.
Yes, I mean, Neeruji has answered most of it, but exactly in concurrence with that, the idea is to have that, what that word in Sanskrit is mumukshatva, the keen desire, very, very keen desire, which is the intensity has to be there. Without that intensity, it creates a barrier. There are always hurdles, and the mind, it always tends to say, oh, it is so difficult, it's so much of effort has to be put in. People say it's the, for people it's easy to say that, it's an easy process. But when one reiterates, there are two methods. One is the method where, Nisargadatta Maharaj said that he used that method, where he said, I am that. His guru just told him, you are that. That's it. Just those three words. You are that.
Yeah.
And he took that, and his entire being, every cell in his body was reflecting that very sentence, I am that, I am that. And when that went on continuously, that intensity was so strong that day in and day out he was only practicing that. It was only a matter of, he says 3 years, when that full bloom of awareness and clarity dawned upon him, saying that, and that then that being of I was, the doership was gone. Whereas Raman Maharshi, Bhagwan Raman Maharshi has his mm, uh, method which he indicated to all devotees was, find out who am I, find out who that is who is actually finding it difficult. Who is that who is finding it difficult? Because when that investigation takes place, the external world, the other objects go fade out into the distance. And when the mind seeks within, that who am I, that I which is the individual dissolves. When that disillusion happens, again that clarity of vision, that I am, that pure consciousness, pure awareness is revealed. Then all that effort that is being put in, which one considered as a process, becomes effortless, because you already were that. You are not any different. Now you're only considering yourself as this limited body, mind, intellect, but essentially you already are that. So why worry, or why try and put additional hurdles on the path by saying, oh, it is so difficult? Because the moment you say, oh, it is so difficult, you are actually creating a hurdle, a hurdle in the path. Rather than that, have that tremendous sankalpa, that tremendous shraddha. All other words, a loose terminology is faith, but that shraddha, that I am that pure awareness, pure consciousness, not this reflected consciousness which considers oneself as this limited body, mind, intellect being, but that ever present reality. That when one does it and has that intense wanting to realize that truth, then that it is just, revelation has to happen. Thank you.
Okay, let me just add something to this, Vijayji.
Yes.
When we look at it practically, you see, normally what happens is that our desires are always carrying us out towards objects, right? Wanting this and wanting that. That is what creates the so-called personal karma and that cycle of reincarnating from, one life to another life, one body to another body. They say that it's the story of the womb to the womb, right? But now this question was put by one of the devotees. Now you see, even when you say that this is actually difficult, right? But behind that, what is actually happening is that now you are making an effort of, rather than this is also a desire, but this desire is taking you inward, right? So even when we reflect upon this, that when we say that, oh, this is actually very difficult, that in itself is a progress, that at least you have started your journey from, rather than going outwardly, you are going inwardly, right? And one day, as Neeruji and Vijayji has said, even that blockage, that actually it is actually difficult, because it is like when you go to a new place, and if the path is very hard, naturally it's going to be difficult. But eventually when you take up the journey and when you reach there and you look back, then it is not hard at all, isn't it? It's like climbing a tall mountain, but as slowly with every step you make the way, you do reach the top of the mountain, right? So this also can be looked at positively, that at least that progression is there in the other direction, going inwards towards mukti or freedom from what you actually have been thinking. Okay, all right, Monica ji. Any other question there?
Anilji, can I
Yeah.
say something?
Yes, yes.
So a little comment in connection with this discussion and followed by a question. One is that I felt that each of the responses were helpful, but also when we say this is difficult, we are talking of the end result. But just as someone who's trying to, let's say, learn anything, where you're learning music, you're learning anything, there are many stages and steps. So
Right.
it's also useful to know that, just reading, understanding, listening, meditating, slowly, small bulbs get lighted, and small confusions keep getting cleared. And so
Yeah.
the understanding develops. So
Right.
for any seeker who also says this is difficult, it's because throughout our culture, we've been given this impression of enlightenment as this very romantic, very otherworldly thing. But actually, in the process, like that's been the journey with me, that slowly, things have got clarified. So, and then it's true. It's also with me, I also see a lot of clarity came, but that did not mean that the breakthrough came yet. Because what I felt was that, as Vijayji was saying, and even Niruji, the burning desire. Now, I have felt that I did not always naturally have the burning desire, or rather, that desire was only one desire among many. So my desire for self-abidance was always getting eclipsed by my desire to enjoy the pleasures of many things. So, and so I'm always also like in this conflict, because I want to experience things, I want to forget all this consciousness thing. But then I see I do all this, then there is so much misery, then I want to go back to it. So I see this sort of process, and slowly with that, I start to value that desire of mine, and it grows in a way. The higher desire matures through my journey. So I just thought I'd share all this, and so it remains as, so that there is the struggle. The desire is also not automatically going to be there, because there will be other things I want to do, and whatever. So slowly it will mature. And yeah, just this, and also I was wondering that if you have some guidance on how one can purify this desire to a in a way that it's not always getting distracted in this way. So just, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the more that you actually reflect, and the more that you actually go in this direction, because this is actually selfless, naturally you purify your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, and then that is how you continue to progress. It's as simple as that. And if from an illuminated perspective, when you actually look at it, look at it within yourself. Isn't everything really in consciousness? The entire world of space, time, and images. So what consciousness says is, oh Nehaji, it's fine. You keep on running. Run as far as you can. Run as much as you can. Run in whatever direction you want. In the end, you've got to turn back. And that is the running from life to life, and that is the running to making our thoughts, our feelings more progressive, more better. It is our own vasanas. Actually, all the illuminated people say that no one is actually to be blamed. You are the one inside who is actually to be blamed, because if you if you didn't have these thoughts or feelings, and you didn't take these actions, you won't be in these circumstances. So there is Gautam Buddha and one end, who left actually everything and was illuminated. We saw that in Varanasi. And then there is a Nehaji or Vrindaji or someone else on the street still wandering around. That's the only difference. It's the same human being. It's the same consciousness. It is the same light illuminating everyone. Is that light of consciousness, or that consciousness, or that which is naturally witnessing, different from you than from me, or from Monica ji, or her mother, or her cousin? It's the same. Right? So again, what Neeruji said, it is the intensity. It is the degree to which actually you want. You follow? And accordingly, proportionately, it responds. Okay, all right. Monica ji, are we done with you or anything else? I don't know whether she can hear.
Done, sir.
Okay, you're done.
Now
All
I
right.
have
Okay.
unmuted myself.
Sorry, you have what?
So my mobile was mute earlier.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So
So
basically,
I'm just saying no more questions for now.
yeah, that's right. So you got to just mute the personality in you and unmute the flow of consciousness in you. That's all.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Rajesh ji, are you there? Do you want to come in?
Yes, Anilji. Pranam,
Yes.
Anilji.
Pranam, Pranam. Oh, we are sitting in the lounge room, is it?
No, in your bedroom, Anilji.
All right. Okay, then. Okay. Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
Rajesh. Yeah.
yeah. Thank you so much, Neeruji, Vijayji, for throwing the light on illuminating consciousness. So that it comes into my mind is the teaching of Anilji. It's very simple, and it is all the time. It is available. No efforts. As far as the outer efforts is required to, like, if we want to see the movie, then we have to go to the cinema hall. So if you want to remain with the consciousness, no need to go anywhere. So it is always there. This is what uh, I am experiencing in everyday uh, uh, life. So I want to share one story with all of you that resonate with the today's discussion. Is that one Mahatma Ji, he went to for Bhiksha.
Right.
So yeah, so I will speak a little bit Hindi in this story, so it comes naturally. So that Maharaji went for Bhiksha, and he went to one Amma. So he went there and asked, "Amma ji, भिक्षाम देगी, so कुछ खाने का दीजिए." So this is lunch time. I want food for my stomach. I'm very hungry. So Amma asked, "What do you want?" So Mahatma ji said, "I want roti and bhaji, that Indian bread and vegetable." So then Mahatma ji said, "Don't put onion in that bhaji." So Amma said, "Okay, I will not put. I will take care of your need." So Ammaji went, and she prepared roti and bhaji, and she come back with that prasad, like bhaji and roti. So again, Mahatma ji asked, "Really, it is there is no onion in that bhaji?" Amma said, "No, no, no, not at all, because this is what I this prasad is prepared for Mahatma ji. So there is no such thing that I will take. This is your need, so it is taken care of. So there is no onion in that bhaji." Then Mahatma ji, वो एक उससे roti that he had that roti and bhaji, and immediately he said, "You put onion in this bhaji?" The Mahatma ji said, "No, no, no, no onion, because बोला कि भगवान की कसम, राम की कसम, मैंने इसमें आलू ये अपना प्याज नहीं डाला है." So really, नहीं 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 नहीं, मुझे तो ऐसा लग रहा है कि इसमें है प्याज. So Amma said, "No, it is onion bhaji. How I can put onion in that onion bhaji?" So, 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 so,
Very good. Okay.
so consciousness is always there, like onion bhaji. How we can expect that onion uh, in onion bhaji? So it's consciousness is all the time. It is there. So like it's this bhaji. This is bhaji of consciousness. So how we can expect consciousness in consciousness? So it is. It is
All right.
this,
Yeah. Okay.
we
Fair
can
enough.
have this experience in everyday life, that there is no upside down yoga is required to be remain with the consciousness, because without consciousness we cannot see this satsang, because like this Zoom platform is like consciousness. We are watching and speaking on this Zoom platform, but it is there. Without Zoom platform, we cannot do this satsang.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is it's very
Okay.
simple. This happiness is
Yeah.
unconditional. Happiness is always available. Like
All right. So you can see the onion bhaji very clearly, huh?
Yes.
All right. Fair enough.
Effort.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah. So this is what is experiencing every day in without effortless. No no way to on it to do anything. And
Very nice.
this has happened because of clarity, that what you always teach, that clarity of the student is very much required.
That's correct. Yes. When understanding comes, if there is no clarity, there is no abidance.
Yes, Anuj.
There is
True,
no
true,
peace in your life, you see. So,
true,
yes.
true.
Well, Yoga Vashisht said that. I don't say that. I just follow his teaching.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Can
Kavita ji there? Yeah, yes. Yes, someone is saying something. Yeah, boliye.
yeah, can I just share something, Anilji? Vrinda.
Yeah. Please.
I just want to share this that in today's satsang, suddenly after listening, this came to me very strongly. I recollected when I was much younger, and my mother used to tell me many spiritual stories, and some whatever bit of understanding at that time had come that all is that only. So with that, I used to I used to enjoy listening to music, and when I heard some very good, instrument player or somebody singing beautifully, I used to feel, oh, I also should be knowing this. Why can't I do? And at that very young age, this thought used to come that that is also me only playing, and here in another form. So same way, many times, whenever I wanted to do something which the other was doing, and I realized I don't have the capability, I used to calm down totally and enjoy it thoroughly, because I used to feel that is also same form playing there or doing something, and here I'm enjoying it or learning from it. But then over the time during my life, I went through many experiences which were beautiful, also very difficult, or the whatever difficulties came. Listening to the satsang, it came to me that when at for all the nice things that I wanted to do, and I felt okay, that is also me doing, and here I am just the listener. So the difficult people also who come around, or the difficulties that come around, they are also me only doing in another form that same thing. And here I have to learn from that. So it's like I suddenly felt the oneness of all. And in the play also, there it is me, that consciousness, that is not me as a person, but that consciousness who is being difficult. Here is the consciousness who is learning and dealing with it. And then there is a consciousness which is totally silent, which has nothing to do with anything that's happening. So it's like that same, like Rajesh ji just said, about the onion bhaji, and the way all of you have explained, it is
Correct.
something so
Beautiful.
obvious that
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
just, this came to me very strongly just now. So I felt like sharing that it is the same
Very nice.
consciousness,
Yeah.
playing different roles, helping you
Mm.
learn by coming across in beauty, by coming across in difficulty, being difficult, being nice, teaching you, guiding you. It's the same. There is no other, actually. So I just felt like sharing that.
Very nice. Excellent. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you. Hari Om ji, do you want to say something before we close today's session?
Maybe one or two small things,
Yeah.
but I have understood. When we go to a movie hall, there is a projector there. So unless the projector gives the light, the reel cannot be projected onto the screen.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
that projector has illuminating consciousness, that it is illuminating the jud reel and projecting it on the screen.
Yeah.
That is something, because that unless that projector works, you will not be able to see a movie. So it is one consciousness illuminating so many characters in this world, and they are projecting on the screen of consciousness. Now, if consciousness is everywhere, it is omniscient, then there is no process involved, there is no effort involved. It is all knowing. Everything is happening inside it. there cannot be a process to know, because everything is happening in it. So what Neeru ma'am had brought out, ki witnessing is natural. There is no
Yes.
process involved in witnessing.
Yeah.
So these two things came to my mind, so I thought I'll just share with you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's actually very beautiful. Ramana Maharishi had explained this very beautifully. Actually, you see that light which is coming out from that lamp, right, is that illuminating consciousness. And the reel actually, which is actually moving, is basically that prarabdha. You know how we make all this individual karma and we are reincarnating. So the reel is actually the thoughts, the feelings, and the events, and moving on from one life to another. And that lamp actually, unless it is actually not there, you see, that is the one due to which this picture, the moving picture of these images, our own images, is projected on the very screen of consciousness itself. Right now, what Ramana Maharishi said is, if you take that lamp away, nothing will be projected. If consciousness is not there, then there's nothing actually, right? So it's very, very practical, very, very practical if understood actually correctly, right? And the beauty is that, you know, that reel is actually nothing other than our own personal karma, our own story that we have written actually for ourselves, and we ourselves are the witness to that story, and we ourselves are the actor. The thing is just, there is no permanency in that. Exactly as what I said before, you disappear, that particular story disappears, you appear again, and a new story starts, right? So very deep actually, if understood correctly. And then in the end, you see it's the same consciousness, that is its other nature. It itself is actually being these images, being this illusion, being this Maya, and it becomes forgetful of its own nature, so that then Maya, it can function as Maya or function as images.
True.
Right? Yes, Rajesh ji.
Yeah, very much. It's very what you explained is very much true. Means without Maya, how this can be function?
That's right. You know, I mean, what is a mango going to do if there is no Rajesh ji to taste those mangoes, you know, which come from Gujarat, right? All right. Okay. Look, is there anyone else who has got any questions or anyone wants to ask anything? I presume everyone has had a bit of a talk. So just, I think that Hariom ji and Neha ji and Vrinda ji and Monica ji, all of you actually, just if you're there, see, all of you are in actually Delhi, so you can always interconnect and communicate and share your experiences, you know, just adding that while we are actually on the Zoom session. So if there's no one else, if there's no other questions or any queries, once again, thank you to Neeru ji, and I know you are illuminated. It was a beautiful talk that you've actually given. And Vijay ji, as always, you know, he has been co-sharing, you know, for the last over 20 years. Thank you for your time. And then again, thank you to everyone who actually participated. And we'll meet in a month's time again. Pranam and all of you, wherever you are. Have a peaceful time. Yes.
Can you hear me? Anilji?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yep. Is that
Anilji,
Sunil ji?
I'm Sunil Doval. I'm currently traveling to attend funeral of my cousin brother who passed last night. So
Right.
I'm really feeling devastated now. I can't speak much. Thank you for understanding. But I was listening all through.
Right. Okay. Sorry, who passed away?
My cousin brother.
Right.
मेरे
Yeah.
ताऊ जी के लड़के. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but you have actually got to realize that just like a thought, a feeling passes away, an event passes away, so also we too come and go, isn't it? And then we come again. All right. Okay. We'll talk about that later. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining in. Rajiv ji, thank you for conducting the session and for the recording. Harinium, Pranam, and thank you to all of you. May all of you be in peace, happiness, and bliss. And blessings of consciousness and the illuminating consciousness are always with you. Thank you very much. We'll close the session for this month now.